So this is going to be part 5 of the Hasan-Ethan debate
with you,
where I'll be doing tarot reading. Ethan, he is the star and he is the wheel of fortune, and he is also somewhat of a fool. Hasan, he is the devil and the tower, and also a little bit of the fool, but not as much of a fool as Ethan. I'm going to be getting rid of these oracle cards, blue dog and insects. I recently had to bury my dog in my backyard, and I'd rather not look at this. So, just wanted it to be there so that you all know that I'm getting rid of it, in case it mattered to any of you that it was there in the first place. Hasan versus Ethan. Last time they were talking mostly about bad empanada. Let's see where this goes, and let's just get into it.
That's part of the narrative, right?
This is me claiming that, Ethan. I think at this point, a lot of people see it, right?
Very good. Well, let's see. Ugh, God damn it. Well, I got to refresh this. So here's an example from one of these clip channels. These are all different clips, right? Over a 2-month period, there's edited down 24 hours of you talking about me. 24 hours. That's over the.
These are most likely.
Hold on.
These are fan channels.
Let me. Over 60-day period. That's 24 minutes per day.
Ethan, these are fan channels. This is disingenuous. You're presenting the same. Channels. You're presenting.
Okay, first of all, I'm just showing how much you talk about me on stream. Second of all, the fan channel defense is a. Let me finish. The fan channel thing is a clever part of your disinformation campaign to avoid any responsibility. And the fact is, if I wanted to show all your fan channels, this is how many fucking videos was uploaded about me in the last 22 days. You think that's regular? You think that's regular?
Ethan, I have no control over my fan channels. What do you mean? You're literally showing the same. I say one thing on
66
on my Twitch
videos
stream.
about me.
I say one thing on my Twitch stream. Fan channels make the video of the same thing
over and over
again.
It. It's all part, so you don't ever have to accept responsibility.
A lot more than it actually is, but it's actually the same fucking video.
Yeah. No. Well, so this is the total. No.
It's the same moment.
No. This has the same moments. The last one does not.
Moment multiplied.
No, this one does not have photo. No, this one does not have the same moments. This one is unique. Times you talked about me on your stream. Well, why are you deny that you talked about me for 24 hours of unedited content the past 2 months, 24 minutes per day, 7 days a week?
For the past 2 months.
Yes, 24 minutes a day.
I don't deny that, probably. Okay, because I think you are up until this very moment, you have presented yourself as someone who is actually playing a formative role in deplatforming pro-Palestinian content creators. That was the reason why I'm having this conversation with you. Also, now, I'm glad that you brought up the obsession.
Do you think this is reasonable?
Because I have some numbers as well.
Hold on, you're accusing me of being obsessed, Hasan. Is this reasonable? Or is this obsessed behavior? At what point does it become obsessed behavior? At 30 minutes per day? Because I don't talk about you that much, not even close.
Ethan, I have some information as well to present to you.
Go ahead. And by the way, just take this in. Okay.
On your Instagram stories alone, since January 1st, 2025. Hold on. Let me pull this up really quickly. You have on your Instagram stories, not including clips, since January 31st, you have mentioned me 110 times.
What? Based on what? I don't believe that.
On your Instagram
hold on. From what period of time?
January 31st.
Hold on. Since what date?
No, that's you, not fan channel.
I'm asking you for what date?
Instagram.
What's your date? What's the date? I'm asking.
January 31st.
2023?
Since January 31st on your Instagram stories.
What year?
Not including clips.
What year?
You have mentioned
what year?
me. 2025.
So you're saying I stored about you 100 times this year? That's an absolute fucking lie. Show me the evidence of that. Show me your evidence. I've got pictures. What do you got? I talked about you 110 times. Show me.
Clips. You have basically 1.2 posts per day about me, 9 stories per week.
Where are you? Show me the evidence.
We tabulated it. Hold on. Let me see if I can find the dump. Oh, no.
Son,
it's shocking. It shocked you, it seems.
Sure, yeah. But this isn't a somehow. By the way, this doesn't surprise you. 66 videos about me in the last 2 months. They're not my channels. They operate with your approval, under your direction. It's part of your disinfo campaign to avoid responsibility. It's so obvious.
Within the context. It's almost always within the context of you literally fucking. Hosweet, when are we in agreement?
Hasan, you say
call me stupid, and I said my
you're
video
streaming
is bad,
it, bro.
Wait.
You're streaming the hate videos. You're streaming. This is what you stream. I make a
story. Your entire fucking stream is a hate video. What are you talking about? Your entire subreddit is a hate subreddit against me, which is fine. You want to do that? You can do that. That's precisely the reason why Reddit literally got back to you when you fucking cried to them about the snark channels and said, "What are you talking about? You basically have a harassment channel on Reddit. How are you complaining about this?" Not only that, but you also tried to sue anonymous Redditors to dox them.
When did I try to sue? Whoa.
You wanted to dox them to their families.
What?
You're frivolous lawsuits to Redditors, to anonymous Redditors, knowing full well that they would be scared into submission. You also posted about that on your Instagram stories.
Can anonymous Redditors defame you and harass you? Can anonymous posters who literally posted fake, they doctored posts, posted it on our subreddit saying I was banning people who are wishing a happy Ramadan. Okay, and that went viral.
I don't even know what the deal was. I don't even know what the fuck that was about.
Well, it's an outright lie. Hold on, dude. Let me respond.
Did you or did you not get your lawyer?
You need to stop because I'm going to.
Did you or did you not get your lawyer to try to bully, extort people that are anonymous Redditors?
Who's extorting?
They said some shit about you.
Bro, let me answer. Are you just going to fucking?
Okay,
you want to make this interview unwatchable? Is that your goal?
Yeah, go on.
Kind of, right? So let me talk.
All right. Well, this is getting pretty intense, huh? So for Ethan, we got the Chariot. We got a reverse 9 of Swords. And a 3 of Pentacles. As for Hasan, started off with a reverse 9 of Pentacles. King of Cups. Reverse Page of Cups. What I would get from this, and they're talking about, you know, Ethan, who obsesses more over the other, which I can definitely see, at least with the cards moving on from the first cards that were drawn. With the first cards that are drawn, what I see, because Ethan has the Chariot, and Hasan had the reverse 9 of Pentacles. Typically, I mean, if I were to just be like, 1v1 with these guys, that might look better for Ethan, possibly. Reverse 9 of Pentacles versus a Chariot. I'm seeing that, okay, here we go, into the next segment. Let's fucking get started. Let's just fucking keep berating each other with bullshit. Ethan, from the way this debate has gone so far, I mean, we're about halfway through this particular segment. It seems that Ethan might have gotten a little too quick. He went in too quickly, and the problem with this shit is that there's like a lot of emotions involved. These folks, they don't take the time, and you know, I feel like I just keep repeating myself over and over again, which is kind of making this a little bit like, I don't know what else I can possibly tell you folks about this debate. The cards keep telling me the same thing. I mean, a Chariot, I think that might be the first time that has shown up. Maybe the second time, I don't know. But I do not remember receiving a Chariot. I remember getting a King of Cups for Ethan at least once. The 9 of Pentacles has shown up quite a lot, which is very important to consider here because 9 is a very good, very strong number. It's Ethan's life path number. It keeps showing up, whether it's reverse or regular. It is a very consistent one. And then we got the reverse 9 of Swords. The 9 of Swords has shown up a little bit as well. Not nearly as much as the 9 of Pentacles, at least from what I remember. These 9s and reverse 9s right now, which might say something bad about where this is going for Ethan, considering that they're talking about, you know, we're throwing out things like, okay, Ethan, you sued anonymous Redditors, and Ethan isn't really addressing it perfectly. He just keeps wanting to move on. I mean, he's like, but you sued the anonymous Redditors. What about that? You are more obsessed with me. You did 110 posts while I only did 67 posts or whatever it was. You know, there's this like thing where Ethan is kind of losing this segment, and it's mostly because he's not properly addressing Hasan's decent points. Now, what I would call this kind of debate right here, when we're talking tit for tat, numbers for numbers, you did this, so you're worse. This is what we call a dick measuring contest. It happens all the time in debate. You're going to see it a lot with people like Douglas Murray. Dick measuring contest means, okay, I'm better and more, I have the upper hand in this argument because I'm better than you. That's essentially what it is. And there will be different ways that will show up. In this case, it's Hasan is better than Ethan because he has less posts addressing Ethan. He has not sued Redditors. So Ethan is feeling a little bit small-dicked here, even though he doesn't have to, because none of this stuff is relevant, in my personal opinion. But because Ethan doesn't really just say, oh, yeah, I guess I did more posts. Oh, yeah, I sued those guys because fuck them. whatever. I mean, it seems it's kind of where he was going with the suing thing. I mean, we'll see after the second half of this segment. Is he going to address it properly? I don't know. I kind of feel like it would very much benefit him to do so. But, you know, this is all kind of a crapshoot here. I feel like this entire debate, the one thing that I do find interesting about this debate as it keeps going, is that it is kind of unpredictable. From the very beginning, I thought Ethan was going to really crush Hasan in a way that would have been very embarrassing for Hasan. But as it keeps going, I don't know. I kind of feel like Ethan really lost the momentum from that whole Four of Swords thing. Or not the swastika sword, which I guess I'm going to call the Four of Swords now because it did really connect there at the time. Ethan really felt that he was doing well, and maybe he didn't really make sure that he was prepared to take on whatever other challenges come. He felt too much like the Wheel of Fortune, right? He felt too much like the star, but he's really a fool. He doesn't know enough, and that's okay. Sometimes being the fool, I mean, I think in part 3 or part 4, I don't remember, I was talking about how Ethan benefits from being the fool in some of these cases because he's a little bit more ignorant of some of the information, so he's able to ask more questions and put Hasan on the spot. But right now, it seems that he's kind of put on the spot. He's trying to claim that Hasan is obsessed with him, but Hasan just pulls out the numbers. No, look, I have an 8-inch penis, and you only have a 6-inch penis. That's kind of what's going on here.
These anonymous posters, okay, were showing pictures of the front of our office, organizing to meet there. They were, I know you haven't seen it, but it's true. They have documented, I have proof of them faking a post saying I was banning people wishing Ramadan that was supposed to start, that went viral in your community, was picked up by people in your community, leftist Twitter, TikTok, etc. It was an outright lie. It was defamation. And by the way, fuck yeah, those people should be held accountable.
One instance where I've talked about you, Ramadan, whatever the fuck.
I'm explaining the context, dude. You're accusing me of something.
Until this moment. What are you talking about?
Bro, you're unreal. I'm explaining the context. How's that weird? You accuse me of something. I'm explaining why.
Because you're saying that I'm responsible for this when I have no fucking clue.
No, I'm not.
What you're talking about. I only saw the litigation.
Hasan, is it ever okay to sue a random Redditor for a reason? Is there ever a good reason?
There could be.
Okay, very good. Well, they were fucking.
Do you think? Okay. About this
instance, it's not that crazy then.
One of the Redditors that you sued.
I didn't sue anyone.
Not only did you sue for copyright infringement,
Hasan, you are absolutely. Hold on, you're lying. So
in the process of suing him for copyright infringement, your lawyer demanded such insane things. Your only option to avoid litigation: you provide our office with all correspondence you've had with the moderators of H3 Snark. You provide our office with all correspondence you've had with other H3 Snark users. You provide our office with all correspondence you have had with Reddit. What does that mean?
Do you know why?
You provide our office with information regarding the identities of H3 Snark moderators.
Do you know why?
What does that mean? And then
I'm trying to tell you. You just asked me what does it mean, bro.
If you do not or cannot satisfy all 5 conditions, TEI will sue you for copyright infringement and misrepresentation.
Okay, so first of all,
does your lawyer think that you can just make people dance?
All right.
If they
do
got
you
on a
want to
copyright
have
claim?
a conversation, or do you want to just talk uninterrupted? I mean, that's what you do every day. Let's have a conversation. Okay. All right.
Sure.
Do you know why we sent them that letter?
I don't.
Well, I mean, do you think that the context might be important?
Sure.
Okay, so then what the fuck are you doing?
I'm listening. I'm waiting for you to explain. Well, just like you didn't explain why you had 110 Instagram stories, by the way.
I find that that's actually perfect. Reverse 8 of Pentacles versus a reverse Sun, and this very particular talking point kind of worked out, right? Hasan is giggling. Now that Ethan wants to address properly the Reddit thing, because I do think he feels like he's in the right. And Hasan, on the other hand, I think he feels like he's in the right, but he doesn't have quite as big of an argument. He took it like, oh yeah, I'm going to point out that you tried to sue Redditors, but then he's like, do you know why? And then Hasan can't do anything but like just giggle, which is like, okay, I mean, you're going to giggle your way out of this one? I mean, just I feel like it's appropriate for Ethan to talk about this, right? So how about you just, chill out, stop doing the you're so silly, Ethan type of thing. It's not going to work out for you, dude. This is a serious topic, right? And remember that Ethan is the comedian here, not Hasan. Hasan is not a comedian. He's not a funny guy. I guess he's into trying to be one of those funny guys, but he's not funny, right? I mean, if you've watched enough of Hasan's content, you know he's not a funny person. Ethan's the funny guy. And yet Hasan's the one doing a lot of giggling right now when Ethan's trying to address a point that he made. That's not a good look for Hasan. So he needs to change his ways. He needs to, you know, fucking figure himself out, which has been a big thing for him, right? He's the tower and he's the devil. He's a little bit too much into what he thinks is good for him. He doesn't understand that that shit's bad for him at this point. If you want to be a leftist activist for Palestine, you can't also be some, like, Fortnite playing edgelord. I mean, that's just how... I'm just going by what the cards say, all right? I'm not trying to... All right, but let's keep going.
Which was shocking to even you.
By the way, these people were committing continual copyright infringement. They were posting clips with the stated intention, Hasan, of stealing views from us. This person, we took down the DMC post, and they erroneously...
Views from you how?
I'm sorry, do you want me to respond? This person...
Stealing views from you how?
Because they
by
say...
posting on Reddit?
Yes, duh. What the fuck are you talking about? Really?
So you're admitting that you were admitting that you literally filed a fucking frivolous...
really are stupid.
A frivolous copyright infringement lawsuit.
Do you know what a lawsuit...
Fair use...
You know the difference between a letter and a lawsuit?
Filed a frivolous lawsuit to try and stop people from criticizing you on Reddit?
Did I say
Do you know how many people criticize me on my Reddit?
I didn't say
criticize. You know how many
criticize.
people criticize me on your Reddit?
Oh my god, this is so
Imagine
pointless.
if I was fucking suing them.
Bro,
how much would you talk about that?
You know what? I want to ask you something. They're posting paywalled content and saying, watch it here so that you don't support Ethan. Okay? Spare me. Now let me ask you a question because this is fucking dumb. Okay? You always say that whenever... First of all, let me give you a stat. You've watched 11 hate videos about me since this has started. Do you know how many I've watched about you on stream?
Your whole stream is
zero.
A hate video.
Zero. I've had zero people hold my hand through some obscene hate videos. You've watched 11 of them. Now let me ask you this. Whenever I make a response to these videos, for example, the content cop, you say you don't have time because you need to get to the news, which is something important. Then how the fuck do you have 19 hours straight, uninterrupted, to watch 11 hate videos, but you're not willing to show my response? Don't you think that's a bit cowardly?
No, I don't.
Wow,
because what's cowardly is ducking me for the past
ducking you. I'm
4
sitting in
months.
front of you.
When you dropped the content nuke, I said I'm willing to talk to you, and you knew it wasn't going to look good, as today has demonstrated.
I said just
and
watch
that's precisely why you tried to add additional qualifications to it, like, oh, just watch my video, just watch my video.
That's super reasonable. Why the fuck would I have a conversation with you about a video you haven't seen?
Because it's me. I'm speaking.
It's not a biography. You understand that, right?
Do
you understand the difference between a biography and a video that's critical of your positions? Do you understand the difference? Hold on. Do you understand? Because I'm not sure you understand.
What's interesting?
It's not a biography. It's not about the points in your life about your mom and your dad and growing up with your family. I'm making specific arguments that I've articulated that you have not seen. So how the
very
fuck...
poorly, by the way.
How do you know that? You haven't watched it.
Because I'm talking to you.
Because I've watched 11 hate videos.
And you haven't articulated a single good point yet. But...
By the way, I said I would debate you if you watched it. It's very simple.
I'll tell you why.
You were dodging as fuck.
Because I responded to your context nuke before the nuke came out.
Which you can't provide, by the way.
There's a video on my channel. There's a video on my channel that I urge all of you who are interested to go and watch. It is sitting at like, what, 600,000 views? Not that many people watch it as opposed to the content nuke, okay? In that video, you will notice that months prior to Ethan's context puke, months prior to that, I addressed every single claim he made in his video.
How do you know that?
Do I have the capacity to...
You didn't watch the video.
Do I have the capacity
to...
So
where'd you get the list? Do someone send you a list of all my points?
How?
Why not just watch the video? Why not just watch the video? It seems cowardly. You're like, I don't want to watch the video. Just send me a list of all the things. So I don't want to get my feelings hurt. And maybe he can make a good point.
You have, in the cringiest ways possible, considered yourself to be Kendrick Lamar in this beef, this one-sided beef that you created initially.
That's right.
I didn't respond to until you tried to deplatform me and people who are pro-Palestine. Okay.
Who cannot? By the way, being pro-Palestine means you are infallible and can never be criticized. That's awesome logic. You want to talk about the content nuke, Hasan? Hasan, you want to talk about the content nuke? Can you name one clip that was out of context? You call it the context puke. Name one clip that was taken out of context. Go ahead.
Watch my video and you'll find out.
Name one.
Watch my video.
Go ahead. It's about me.
No, I'm kidding. I'll show you. Okay. So one of the best examples that we were initially going to get to, and then we went on a long, drawn-out sequence over sexual assaults, is that one of the clips that you used in your context nuke was the claim that I deny rapes happen. It was from
I showed evidence. That wasn't out of context. That was an opinion.
At the time, that thing that you clipped, where me being like, rapes happening do not change the dynamic for me, which was about...
We talked about this, bro. Can we please talk about something else? It's exhausting.
That argument, quite literally,
why are we going over this again,
defending the likelihood of rapes happening, Ethan. Do you feel like that was an appropriate way to show that was a rape denier?
Bro, it literally wasn't out of context. What else do you have?
I showed you. Wait, that wasn't out of context.
How was it out of context? How was it out of context?
Because that was an argument.
Okay. I do want to address some of this, especially like from the very beginning. It started off Ethan with a 1 of swords versus Hasan with a reverse 3 of swords. And then it moved straight on to Ethan with the 9 of cups and Hasan with the reverse 4 of swords. And as we know, at this point, Hasan in the 4 of swords, you know, that I would say is like something that's haunting him. it's almost like it's a demon that's haunting him. The Four of Swords, in my mind, is the swastika sword. Do I want to put it up here? No, because I think the Four of Swords works in context of debate as well. So I want to, if it's going to show up, I want it to keep showing up. But we go from reverse Three of Swords to the Four of Swords. Oh, wait, was it reverse Four of Swords? I don't remember, but it doesn't matter. We got an Ace of Swords to a Nine of Cups. I think Ethan's doing quite well right now. The last drawing, and based on what was going on in the debate, I would have felt that Ethan was starting to lose. But, as we know, Ethan did seem to want to address the Reddit thing, because there was context to that, right? Hasan, on the other hand, kind of wants to just giggle through it. He's not really taking it seriously enough. He needs to rethink the way he's going to respond every time Ethan says anything. It seems that Hasan wants to kind of like wear this veil of, I don't care, I think you're silly, I think you're inherently wrong. And remember, and this was a point that Ethan made, and Hasan, in response to Hasan, is that just because you're pro-Palestine doesn't mean you're infallible. And it's kind of like something exactly that Hasan was trying to push, is that, Ethan, you're the one who's not as pro-Palestine as me, so therefore you are in the wrong inherently. But the problem being is that if Ethan believes that it is a genocide, if he believes that Israel is occupying Palestine, I mean, I kind of feel like he's checked the boxes, at least for anyone who would be worried, is Ethan a Zionist? No, we know he's not a Zionist. The closest thing we have is that Ethan has some affinity for Israel because he has a personal connection to it, being a Jewish man who has spent time there and whose wife is from Israel. So, of course, he has some connection. He has some feelings for the people of Israel who he doesn't want to be displaced or murdered or whatever. Whether you think he's kind of naive to the overall grand scheme of the history, sure. But is he a Zionist? Is he, like, taking the most repugnant position that you can have on this whole situation? No, he's not. And you can't really talk to him as if that's the case. It just makes you seem disingenuous. It makes you seem like you don't have much going for you. And I kind of feel like from the very beginning of this debate, Hasan, started asking questions like, do you believe it's a genocide? Do you believe it's an occupation? Blah, blah, blah. With Ethan saying yes, yes, yes. I think he really ruined Hasan's momentum from the very beginning of this debate. And then, of course, the Four of Swords thing that came up, I mean, it really was just like not good for Hasan from the very beginning. Hasan may have some ups and downs throughout the debate, but the very beginning to me shows that his first weapon of choice did not work for him. And Ethan's first weapon of choice, it seems to be a fucking curse on Hasan. Hasan, what he really needs to do is readjust. He needs to take a deep breath. He needs to pause. He needs to kind of take Ethan seriously. He doesn't understand that this will make him look significantly better than he currently does. I think, of course, it's always coming down to how he thinks his cohorts will feel about this afterwards. That's the only thing that Hasan cares about to some degree. Hasan cares more about the superficial. He cares about how he looks to certain people. He wants to look good. I don't think he cares as much about morality that he implies. But, let's see.
Argument that I was having with a chatter who was saying, why don't you deny that rapes have happened? And I was saying, there is a likelihood that they might have happened because rapes are actually commonplace. Sexual assaults commonplace in conflicts in general. So without evidence, I am not going to immediately dismiss these claims.
So here,
do you feel like that was sufficient to show that I was actually that I was actually at that moment saying,
I think I showed sufficient evidence, yes. But the video's an hour and 40 minutes long. It's very long. That's one example. That's one small. What else is out of context? Go on.
Okay, great. All right, let me give you the master list, okay? If you want to watch the context of it, we can also go through these videos as well, or you can just take my word for it, up to you. What do you want to do? You want to go through the videos one by one, or do you want to...
Give me examples that was out of context.
Okay.
Also, yeah, I mean, the fact that apparently if Hasan is going based off of notes, and then he's also trying to claim that he refuted every point, I don't know, that kind of feels disingenuous. It doesn't seem like a good strategy at all All right, let's continue.
One of the other things that you've consistently done, aside from also the dude that you claimed was my fan, who now you admit wasn't my fan, that you falsely slept. You falsely said was my fan.
Jiminy fucking cricket.
Okay, was the usage of the term inbred. I use inbred as a what?
Because I have that. Because I knew you were going to do this, and I have the clip pulled. Let's play it, and then you can
play it. The Jewish KKK brigades out there, just a bunch of fucking inbred hicks. Imagine the most inbred white supremacist guy you can imagine. Okay, every week there was another fucking psychopathic settler, inbred fucking douchebag. Oh, these inbred fucking douchebags in the background, dude. A nation entirely comprised of messianic, inbred, ultra orthodox psychopaths. That these inbred don't understand. Educated, inbred, fundamentalist hicks.
Calling us in the middle of campus, calling us inbred, that we have no culture. One of them grabbed my friend's Israeli flag in the middle of campus, carried it to a mob by the gate that were communicating with the angry mobs outside of campus.
Untrained, inbred asses shipped into southern Lebanon, telling us that we are all inbred and that we have no culture.
You want to?
You gotta watch these clips.
Inbred.
You know, kind of interesting. I won't put this away yet. Like, all of a sudden, a rambling card it can be seen as like a card where you're just rambling, where you're just like a bunch of thoughts are coming to your head at once and you can't get them out fast enough. I don't know if it has to do with what we're watching right now or if it's going to have to do with something that is going to be said in a little bit, but just find that interesting.
It flips it, and that's not necessarily the algorithm.
Okay, so yeah, go ahead and defend your continual use of the word inbred to describe Jewish people. Go on.
Wait, do you think I'm describing all Jewish people as inbred? Is that what your assessment is here?
Microaggressions, my friend. We're pretending they don't exist.
Shut up, dude.
You continually refer to Jewish people as inbred.
You are such a pussy. Oh my god. Yeah, dude. Of course I'm calling the fucking Kahanist Jewish supremacist settlers inbred. Why is it that you tried to defend the actual Kahanist settlers that were destroying humanitarian aid? When I was calling them fucking inbred, you were like, oh, why? They're just nice young Jewish boys, you said, when describing that fucking video.
Did you? So again, Hasan, you have a chronic problem with the truth. Here's what you're talking about.
Douchebags in the background, dude.
By the way, this is the difference between me and Hasan.
When I get criticized, I pull it up and I watch the fucking criticism.
Hasan opens Comrade Casey tweets and snark posts and reads their interpretation of my video. Talk about being a pussy. You need people to hold your hands.
Let's fucking be real here.
Yeah, I'm so scared of you. That's why I wanted to debate you.
And this is an ongoing like joke with this community. These are just fucking benign dudes. Just I don't know what the fuck they're doing. It looks like they're doing charity or something. It looks like they've got water or boxes or something, like they're helping. And he's going, oh, look at these inbred fucks. It's like, bro, who are you? What are you? By the way, even if they're doing whatever bad, you're still calling Jewish people inbred repeatedly.
You understand that, right?
Rubs off on
they're
people.
fucking Nazis, Ethan. What's wrong with you? They're participating single-handedly in a genocide.
Continually to Jewish people as inbred, bro. You don't think that can affect people?
I call all racist right-wing reactionaries inbred. It's one of the fucking terms that I can use that isn't like immediately
slammed. How about one that doesn't feed into like an anti-Semitic trope? Why did you laugh when that guy said that people were calling them inbred on campus? Why was that funny?
What do you mean? Because it's a fucking crybully claiming that
he was walking through campus.
What?
He was walking through campus. How's he a crybully?
No, he's a crybully for going on Fox to be like, I was under attack. I was victimized once again.
What was the bully aspect?
What do you mean? When someone
to be a crybully, there needs to be a bully aspect. Where's the bully aspect?
Have you literally left your goddamn Bel Air mansion for a second and looked at the news? Do you know what's going on? An entire year of genocide side by side with people claiming that Jews are being victimized on college campuses has now led to the fucking Gestapo literally packing up pro-Palestinian student activists. You don't think that those fucking dipshits play a role in that on Fox News of all places? What the fuck is wrong with you? Of course you're not pro-Palestine. This is the reason why nobody thinks you're pro-Palestine, okay? Because you do this dumb shit. Because you can't fucking see the world outside of how you feel.
I find it interesting, you know, we almost had a reverse here. Like, this is basically what's happening throughout the debate. One guy says something that stumps the other guy says something that stumps the other guy. Now, like, if this were a basketball game, this would be a really good game, right? If you don't have, like, much stake in either team, you kind of want to see a game where there's constant three-pointers from both sides. Constant, like, oh, neck and neck type of stuff. Oh, they got 90 and they got 88. That's a really close game. It could be anything. We're in the fourth quarter. That's kind of what we're getting with this whole debate thing, despite the fact that Ethan does have the momentum, which I do think will help him in the long run, because who the hell is watching all 5 hours of this besides, you know, people who are crazy, like me. So we started with the One of Wands and the Six of Pentacles. We got the speed thing going on, which may make it seem more like energetic in general. But I do find it interesting that, Ethan had the One of Wands last in the last drawing, and now it goes straight to Hasan afterwards. And I'm shuffling the shit out of these cards. There's a reason why we're getting fucking Wand of Wands and Nine of Cups again. And the Page of Cups and the Chariot. Despite the fact I shuffled the fuck out of these. Please believe me. I think this is, I think Hasan is doing kind of well because Ethan really thought the strategy of going into the whole, like, oh, you called these guys inbred. I don't think that was a good strategy, to be honest. I mean, I feel like, who cares? I mean, they're Zionists. Why should we be worried? I mean, if you're trying to not sound like you're a defender of Zionism, then why would you care about what Hasan is saying about right-wingers who are pro-Israel? And maybe that was not a good step to take. That wasn't a very good strategy. So we are getting a lot of decent, like, we got Queen of Cups and Nine of Cups for Hasan versus this inverse Page of Cups and inverse Chariot. I do feel like Hasan was able to ride that wave that Ethan kind of set up for him. And then Hasan ending it with saying, oh, so you don't care about Palestine. I don't think that was a good strategy. At the very least, Ethan has demonstrated to some degree that he cares, to some degree. It doesn't mean that he is going out there out of his way, but he gave, what, $6,000 to Palestine or some shit? I don't know how much money he gave, but he gave money to Palestine, and, like, he's done things, right? He's given lip service. Does this mean that he's truly pro-Palestine? I don't know. I think Ethan is not anti-Palestine, and I think he's very critical of the Israeli regime. So that maybe not the great strategy. We'll see where this goes. But the Queen of Cups and Nine of Cups, I think it says very much that at the very least, Hasan is doing well over here. This was the right opportunity to bring up emotional things, to bring up the fact that Ethan is not really showing this proper solidarity. If he cares so much about the inbred comments directed towards supposed far right-wingers, what does that really say about Ethan's dedication to Palestine? It doesn't really say a lot, does it? It doesn't say at least good things. It kind of is leaning into the bad. If you are pro-Palestine, you shouldn't be concerned about how people are talking about the Zionists and the Israeli leaders. The IDF, the Israeli government, the Israeli military, these leaders are mostly very far right. And they've said some very genocidal things. I don't mean for this to be some kind of anti-Israel video, even though I'm definitely not pro-Israel. I think it does really, like, it's hard to really start going into what these cards could mean without giving some of my opinion on this whole thing. And I do think that it did not help Ethan to get upset over this inbred stuff. Like, whatever. He's calling right-wingers inbred. Let him. I mean, you should, if you're pro-Palestine, you should be able to concede on some of these things, right? If we were to backtrack and look at some of the older stuff in this whole content nuke bullshit whatever thing, it would have helped if Ethan just gave Hasan a bone on some things, because then it would have demonstrated some level of good faith. Same thing for Hasan, which I think in some cases Hasan has been able to prove that he's given a bone to Ethan. Ethan has more so given a bone to Palestine, but not given a bone to Hasan, which, he doesn't have to give a bone to Hasan. In the spirit of debate, or it can be a good look to do so. Not that it's an obligation. I do kind of think that respectability politics, if you're arguing with a Zionist, for example, if you truly are pro-Palestine and you're listening to a Zionist, what respectability can you truly give those people? In the mind of a pro-Palestine person and the way the pro-Israel people argue, it's very difficult to actually believe that these folks are have anything worth, giving like a good comment towards. So let's see where this goes.
You're saying people think I'm pro-Palestine because I don't like your repeated use of the word inbred against Jews?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you're running defense for Kahanists who are literally
I'm not defending them. I'm attacking you. How is
no,
me saying why
you are fucking crying about me calling Nazis inbred in the process of them destroying humanitarian aid, going into Gaza,
all the
and then you're going, they look like kind boys.
Yeah, I took it back
they
immediately.
look like nice boys that were just holding the humanitarian aid. How do you assume that
I literally took it back
what
immediately.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
I admit I was wrong and took it back immediately when I learned the context. Do you know how that works?
Oh my God, there's
have
a
you
lot
ever,
more. Do you want to keep going?
Have you
piece
ever,
by piece?
No, it's fucking boring.
Now it's boring.
Because you're a chronic liar.
Well,
I went back.
Maybe I wasn't afraid of the context nuke. Okay?
I went back.
Maybe I wasn't afraid of it, but I was worried that you were going to fucking clip shit out of context and keep chirping to your audience and lie to them. And now you can't lie to them. And all of a sudden, lo and behold, half of the fucking shit that we've talked about, you backtracked on. Maybe that's the reason why people think you're fucking pro-Israel at a time when you say that they're doing a genocide.
You said that the Houthi Luffy was not a pirate.
He's not.
Or I'm sorry, not Houthi affiliated.
He's not. But even if he was, I wouldn't care. I hope you understand that.
That's rewriting history.
I'm going to say this very clearly.
No, it's not that you cared. It's that
I'm
you
going to say this very
fucking
clearly
glazed
to
him
you
up.
right now. 10 toes down. Are you ready for this?
Go ahead.
I believe what the Houthis are doing in terms of stopping Israel doing a genocide to implement a blockade on the Red Sea is a good thing. 10 toes fucking down. They are on the morally right side. Don't you also think they're on the morally right side?
What have they done?
You're supposed to.
Hold on.
You're saying that it's a genocide.
What have they done?
What the fuck are they supposed to do?
They hijacked a boat that had nothing to do with Israel? Like fucking
That's
bravo.
not true. That's not true.
Really? What was that? What did it have to do with Israel?
It was literally owned by an Israeli.
It was partially owned.
Island.
It's a big multi-conglomerate company that was partially owned by an Israeli.
Yes.
It was bound for fucking for Turkey from India.
What do you mean?
They kidnapped 5 totally unrelated Filipino fucking prisoners and kept the prisoners for a year.
In your fucking video. Are you going to take that back too now? Now you admit that you were wrong on that part too?
I didn't hear
Wow, what are we on? 4? 5? How many points have you actually backtracked on?
I don't know what you're accusing me of. What was I wrong about?
You said in your video that it had nothing to do with Israel. You claimed that it wasn't owned by an Israeli
guy.
You were wrong.
Partially owned by an Israeli guy? It's British owned. It's owned by a British company.
It's an Israeli
It's owned by a British company.
Ship.
So it's owned by a British company.
You literally claimed that it was owned by Isle of Man. It was an Isle of Man ship.
It is.
Like you think all of these ships mysteriously are just owned by that, and it's not a fucking easy flag to get.
How much of this? So if this Jewish or this Israeli guy,
0.5.
If this Israeli guy, how much does he need to own of this business that owns this boat to justify? Is it 0.1? Is it 0.2? Is it 5%? How much?
I don't know, and I don't care because I think that even if they got some of the ships wrong, I still think they're on the right side. Don't you?
I mean, like, I agree with their...
I'm not even conceding on that front, by the way, because I do think that, once again, that was owned by an Israeli conglomerate.
No, it wasn't. That's an outright lie. You're lying. It's not owned by an Israeli conglomerate. You're fucking lying. That's an outright pathetic lie. And you're basically running defense for a terrorist organization. Now, do I defend what they do? I think what they're doing, their message is good. Their method is terrible.
Oh, wait. Dude, let's ring up the fucking Al Houthi family real quick. Tell us how you would stop a genocide when you're the poorest country.
Well, not hijacking an unaffiliated boat and kidnapping 15 fucking nationals and holding them for a year. How is that helping anyone?
Yeah, that's another thing that you actually got wrong, by the way, that even fucking Willie Sloptube called you out on.
All right, well, this is pretty good here, huh? So we got 6 of Wands versus the inverse page of Cups, and I think that's still one. I mean, this is like a victory card over here. And it's interesting that the 6 of Wands goes straight to the reverse 10 of Pentacles, and where we have the 1 of Wands, where, you know, if someone's losing a point and then they get a 1 of Wands, to me that's saying, all right, you lost, get to the next move, figure something out, pal. You know, you gotta, which is exactly how you know, if you're good at debate, 1 of Wands is your lifeline. You use the one. I mean, you can have like unlimited lifelines in debate, right? It's just all about rhetoric. It's all about point counterpoint. 1 of Wands, you need to constantly come up with some new way of thinking if someone has you up against the ropes, because they have you up against the ropes because your point that they're countering is not a very good one, and they are defeating you. So when we get to the reverse 10 of Pentacles and then the reverse Moon for Hasan, as he's kind of winning this, and then we got the reverse Justice on top of the 1 of Wands, I think like Ethan talking about this Houthi terrorist thing that Hasan is. What is Hasan actually going to say about this? I mean, he's sort of going into it, but Hasan, we all have the clips. And if we've watched the content nuke, we know that Hasan was very into the idea of having a quote-unquote terrorist, you know? So I can see how that is not a good look for Hasan, depending on how he wants to play this. And now, when we got the reverse Moon, it can say that, oh, Hasan is being exposed, or Hasan plans to expose Ethan, or Hasan is not really addressing his dark side. This could go anywhere, but with the reverse justice card for Ethan, which I think we've gotten a lot of reverse justices throughout this debate. This is what we have to remember as an audience watching this debate, is that this is all reverse justice. To be honest, in my opinion, this is what this debate has all been. Not all of it, but anytime they start actually leaning into the what are we really talking about here? Dead children in Gaza, right? Both of these guys are reverse justice when it comes to all of this. Do they really truly care about these things at this point if they're having a debate like this? No. They both care about winning the debate. And there's no real winning here. I don't think that anyone's going to win anything. I think this debate, in my opinion, is probably one of the worst debates that I've ever seen as when it comes to Israel and Palestine. Is it one of the worst debates I've ever seen in general? No, it's not. I've watched way too much Piers Morgan to even have that. Like, I don't think it's going to be possible to see debates worse than that. The justice inverse, I think that has a lot to do with this whole thing. Hasan and Ethan, you would think, are debating Palestine and Israel, but they're not. They're debating their egos. They hate each other. They're very emotional. They're very combative. There's no moderator. I for some reason, I want to keep watching. I want to keep drawing cards and coming to the same fucking conclusions, that these guys just have no desire to listen to each other or to really have a good faith debate. And maybe it's going to take watching the next 2 hours of this thing to, at the very least, allow me to never assume that these guys have anything of value to say.
Those people, by the time you had released your context puke, those people had been released.
It was, I remember. I said they were prisoners for a year. I know they were released. It literally happened the day I was finishing the video. They were held prisoner for a year? Were they held prisoner for a year? Were they held prisoner for a year? Were they held prisoner for a year?
Yeah, they were.
That's what I said. Thank you.
Yeah, they were all hostages.
So how's that help Israel? Taking a bunch of Filipino fucking unaffiliated sailors
hostage for a year. Do you
understand
the concept of deterrence?
Well, how's it deter Israel? Kidnapping fucking
Do you understand the concept of deterrence? Yes,
how is that a deterrence?
It is a show of force to stop successfully, mind you, to stop other commercial shipping from going through. They literally bankrupted an entire Israeli port. I'd say that's numbers on the fucking board, baby. And like I said, 10 toes down, support that initiative. Because if you believe it's a genocide, what the fuck are they supposed to do? Should they allow their coastline to continue having commerce as though nothing is going on up there in Palestine, where Israel is doing a genocide in Palestine? How do you think the Yemeni population should have responded to the Israeli genocide? Should they have sat back and just let it happen?
Yemeni is not Houthi, by the way.
And also, they can't say, obviously, they fucking can't say from the river to the sea, Palestine, because that scares you, Ethan. So obviously, they can't do that either. So
that's what Norman Finkelstein said.
How can people be pro-Palestine in a way that you think is appropriate?
Where your example is hijacking an unaffiliated ship and kidnapping 15 sailors?
It's not unaffiliated. It's not unaffiliated. But even if it was unaffiliated, totally. As I said already, if it was unaffiliated, that wasn't unaffiliated. You lied about that, and you recognize that you lied about that for the record. Okay. But if it was, it wasn't. Even if it was, they didn't kidnap
random people. That's like terrorist shit. Why are they kidnapping random unaffiliated sailors? How are you defending that?
You know what's
defending them kidnapping these unrelated foreign sailors?
You know what's terrorist shit? Israel fucking blowing up a humanitarian aid flotilla. 1,002. No, I'm not saying you're defending that. I'm just explaining to you what actual terrorism looks like.
Well, you are defending terrorism.
As of this conversation taking place, Israel last night literally drone striked a fucking humanitarian aid ship that was headed for Gaza off the coastline of Malta. That's real fucking terrorism. What the Houthis are doing, on the other hand, is resistance. And it's not only moral, but it's just.
Very good. You're right. You're so righteous. Do you think that the Filipino hostages who were held there for a year agree that was an awesome, awesome act of resistance? Probably not. Right?
Probably not. Can you explain to me what you would do? What would you do?
I think, well, first of all, I think that there's something to be said for stopping the cargo in that strait, but they're doing it insanely fucking stupid. They're stopping unaffiliated ships and they're kidnapping unaffiliated people. How is that good? They're doing it bad.
It's not unaffiliated ship, by the way.
I want to just pause there because with the reverse page of cups, it's shown up a lot. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that these folks are way too into this retrospective look and way too into just looking at, oh, you did this and here, or oh, they did, and specifically now Ethan's saying, oh, they should have hijacked the plane or hijacked the boat in this way, or they should have tried to make a point by not hijacking a boat. It's like, okay, Ethan, I mean, have you ever been part of some kind of rogue terrorist-esque militia, freedom fighting force? I mean, how do you know what they should have done? It seems, Ethan, that you are not really equipped to strategize for the Houthis or whichever group they were talking about. With the One of Wands to the reverse Page of Cups, I kind of feel like that's just like a very ironic draw. Or ironic, I don't know what the right term would be. Very funny, nonetheless. Ethan, what do you know about Houthis? What do you know about freedom fighting? You're a guy who does comedy and is a YouTuber, a podcast. Reverse Seven of Cups and reverse King of Wands. I think it's just that Hasan is kind of like has the upper hand over here. Even if Hasan can be on the right track, let's face it, this is not going to go anywhere in a very productive manner. It's not like we're going to figure out how to make the Houthis the perfect freedom fighting force from this conversation. I don't think Hasan has it in him to do that. What we do know is that Hasan was gloating about having a terrorist on his show many times, and then when he brought the terrorists on, he didn't really ask really interesting questions. I think he talked about like TikTok and video games. I don't remember, but it was just very silly. If anything, Ethan seems to really be judging. It's kind of like when they, you'll notice this argument a lot. Is like, well, what should Israel have done after October 7th? Which is a terrible question to ask because it's completely dismissing the reality of the situation. What should they have done? I don't know. They should have just like seen that as like, oh, I guess we fucked up. Fine. Oh, now we realize how much we fucked up by doing this occupation for like 80 years. Now we get it. See, that's really, I mean, that's a reasonable thing to say, but no one who ever asked the question, what should Israel have done, will ever concede to that. They'll just call you crazy. They'll say, no, that's not realistic. That's stupid. It's like, okay, but that's like the most rational answer we can give to that. What should Israel have done? They should have just immediately freed Palestine. And that's what they should do every single day. Like every single day, the answer to that question is the same. What should Israel do? Free Palestine. How should they have responded to October 7th? They should have freed Palestine. Really? You think they would free Palestine after October 7th? No, I don't think they will. Of course they're going to fucking bomb the shit out of them. That's what they wanted. That was Netanyahu's strategy for getting Hamas into power in the first place. This is all public information. You don't need to go down conspiracy channels to find this out. But I will not dwell on that. Let's keep going.
But even then,
you won't explain how it's affiliated. You said it's owned by an Israeli conglomerate. That is an outright lie. Hold on, you're doing disinformation right now. It was not owned by an Israeli conglomerate. You said that. This is a lie. Galaxy Leader is a vehicle carrier that was owned by a British company, operated by a company connected. It was connected. It wasn't even. He didn't even own it. It was connected to an Israeli businessman. It was. It was co-owned by a business that this Israeli guy was involved in.
Yeah, co-owned by Abraham Ongar.
So what? You know his name.
What do you mean? It's co-owned by an Israeli. What are we talking about?
No, it's co-owned by a company that has an Israeli dude affiliated with it.
Well, you asked me how it's
owned by a British company.
You asked me how it's connected. I'm telling you how it's connected.
Well, you're lying.
And now you don't like that connection.
But you're lying. That's what I don't like.
I'm not lying. The ship info is readily available, Ethan.
Yeah, I agree. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter anyway. The problem for me, really, it doesn't
matter.
Okay,
so the point number 5 that you also presented falsely on your context view.
The problem is more the kidnapped sailors. I just don't understand you can justify kidnapping a bunch of unaffiliated sailors.
I don't, Ethan.
You are. You go.
Ethan.
Have you ever heard of deterrent?
Yeah, walk with me through this carefully.
Yeah, please explain to me how it's justifiable to kidnap 50 sailors.
What would you do? Ethan, what would you do? You have a better way to do it, I think. We're going to figure it out.
Well, like I said, you can do it without kidnapping unaffiliated and holding them for a year.
There were militancy, resistance, okay, that cut off supply lines, okay, supply lines for the Nazis, or even sometimes supply lines that actually impacted the civilians, okay, impact the civilians. Do you feel like that kind of resistance was unwarranted?
It's completely irrelevant. Why did they hold them for a year?
I don't know.
Okay, because they're terrorists.
What? Because they're terrorists?
Yeah, they're terrorists. They kidnap innocent civilians.
Are they? So the
Filipino guys?
The people that are resisting against the Israeli genocide that you call a genocide are actually terrorists because you don't agree with
kidnapping
their
innocents?
fucking methods. Well, you have no way.
Kidnapping innocents.
No alternative. You have no alternative.
That's not true. I said just don't kidnap innocent people.
Nothing else.
Yeah, it's interesting. Reverse 8 of Pentacles versus 9 of Cups. Hasan did the exact thing that I was talking about. What would you do? Well, that's not a very good question, is it? If the point is that Ethan believes that they're terrorists because they kidnapped innocent civilians and held them for a year, and Hasan seems to think, but what would you do? I think Ethan is pretty clear on that. He wouldn't kidnap civilians. I mean, that seems to be his thing. So there's not really any real strategy here. And I think the reason why Ethan is able to one-up Hasan on this is because Hasan has specifically promoted terrorism. It's not that Hasan is the nuanced guy about this that he's claiming to be in this conversation. We know that Hasan is pro-terrorism, right? At least he's joked around about being pro-terrorism. So what are we supposed to take from that? I mean, of course, even though Hasan should be 100% in the right here, I don't think he's capable of doing that. So that kind of brought Ethan back onto the... And that's not good for someone like me who has a lot of strong views on these things. But you know what? I'm not debating Ethan here. So I just have to accept what I'm seeing and move on.
It's easy. Just don't kidnap innocent people. They could have done that, right? They could have taken the boat. They could have commandeered the boat and not kidnapped people, right? Oh, is that possible?
Okay, fair. Do you think that warrants the standard of saying that one of the only groups that is doing militancy against and resisting against Israel's genocide, which they stopped, by the way. They literally stopped when Israel actually followed through on a ceasefire. If they were just, erroneously and randomly fucking trying to claim ships because they're pirates, they want to live the pirate life, then obviously they wouldn't have stopped doing that, don't you think? And they only started their blockade after Israel started starving Gaza again, and then
that's
also
great.
turned
what does
around.
that do with innocent sailors?
Ethan, I don't think you want to go down this route.
I'm ready. What do you mean?
Innocent people is terrorism. Is Israel terrorist? Is the IDF terrorist?
I mean, you could characterize it that way.
Is the IDF terrorist?
I mean, it's an army, so it's a different thing. It's like
why is it a different thing? You think the Ansarullah movement doesn't have a standing army? They have an army.
The Houthis did like a hostile takeover of like a portion of Yemen. They're at odds with the government. It's different. They also own slaves, by the way.
We're going to talk about the Ansarullah movement's history.
I'll say, yeah, Israel, the IDF is terrorist. Yes, the IDF is terrorism.
Hold on. Talk to me about how the Ansarullah movement actually came to power without getting any notes from your Discord or anything like that. Explain to me the process in which Ansarullah actually came to power.
I don't know.
What?
I do not know.
Oh, you don't know?
Yeah, you should try saying that sometimes.
Because in your video, you also used a lot of Saudi outlets to be like, these guys are actually doing slavery.
Give me
and
one.
It turned out that actually
Give me the Saudi outlets.
The videos that you used did not even suggest that it was Ansarullah that was doing slavery in the fucking poorest country on the planet. Okay?
The Houthis have slaves. That's not even contested.
They weren't the ones who were doing the slavery according to your own fucking video, but you still used it.
The Houthis have slaves,
Saudi
undisputed.
propaganda papers that at a time when Saudi Arabia was doing a fucking genocide.
Having slaves and kidnapping innocents. It's just so unnecessary.
What are you talking
just
about?
Acknowledge
dude?
that they do terrible shit.
The Saudi-backed government was the one that was actually doing slavery.
No, well, if they did, then the Houthis also have slaves. That's just a statement of fact.
No, the Houthis don't have shit. Okay,
they don't have shit. They don't even have slaves. They don't even have food. Like, what are you talking about?
That's not the point I'm making. They are the poorest country on the planet that just came out of a
man-made
famine.
How's that blockade, by the way, helping the country?
Saudi Arabia
How is
and
the blockade
UAE
helping the famine in Yemen? How's the blockade helping the famine in Yemen?
There is, as far as I understand, there's no longer a famine in Yemen. I'm talking about before, because you talked about how you were a regional expert.
What is blockading doing for the poorest country on earth?
Ansarullah and their violent takeover of Yemen. So I was like trying to figure out what you know about this. Maybe you know something that I don't know. So I was trying to pick your brain a little bit.
So explain to me why it matters.
It seems like you don't know shit.
Sure, I don't know about the specific thing. Tell me why it matters.
Why it matters? What their blockade?
Yeah, clearly.
Their blockade is. Their blockade is awesome.
Why it matters? How they came to power.
Oh, because you used Saudi newspapers in the time when Saudi Arabia, according to Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, all fucking NGOs, was doing a Western-backed blockade that was killing hundreds of thousands of people. And the headlines that you used in your context were from Al Arabiya and numerous other outlets that had their own personal investment in vilifying the Ansarullah movement. Having said that, of course, I also think that there are plenty to criticize about the Ansarullah movement. I don't agree with everything that they're fucking doing. As I've said time and time again, like their banner, right? Their banner says first to Jews, which you also presented in your video. Except, remember when you talked about Norm Finkelstein? And how Norm Finkelstein doesn't agree with From the River to the Sea,
you
Palestine
agree with kidnapping civilians.
Can we play the clip of Norm Finkelstein talking about the curse the Jews and what he thinks about that? Let's do that. Let's pull up the clip of Norm Finkelstein's thoughts on
how is that relevant?
These actions and the blockade against Israel. You used him as a primary source earlier because you thought he's a reputable guy, which I think I agree.
He said something that I've said that I've been criticized for. What does that have to do with every other take he's taken? It doesn't mean that I support that like we're aligned with every other take in the world.
Dan, can you play this clip real quick? Sorry, this is 50 seconds.
It's irrelevant.
I passed it along.
It's totally irrelevant.
What do you mean it's irrelevant?
Because who gives a fuck what he said about it?
Wait, what do you mean?
You want to talk about
you use his perspective on From the River to the Sea to imply that he agrees with you.
He does.
I want to see if you agree with him on this. Just play it.
All right, I'll play it.
Thank you.
So here, I'm going to play it, okay? And then when this is done, let's move on to something I know we both want to talk about. You claim, I'm going to play it. I just want to set this up. You claim that the worst thing I said in the context, puke, is that I wrongfully portrayed Jewish people fleeing from their countries. And I denied the Nakba somehow, which is crazy. So let's talk about that after this clip.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, perfect.
The Houthis,
And
they said,
by the way,
you're not going to scare us. You're not going to
I'll just say up front, we can end on that point.
Oh, I can keep going all
I'm
day
sure
if
you
you want
can.
to.
Yeah, I know. I know you go to bed tonight in a cool race car bed, but I have family.
Okay,
Kids.
no, that's fine.
I find it interesting before they get into this that we got a 7 of Wands coming up for the Norman Finkelstein thing versus a Queen of Swords. And what I kind of see with that is that I kind of think Hasan doesn't really realize that he's... I wouldn't say he's definitely, but he's somewhat throwing Norman Finkelstein under the bus here. Not that may not be the best phrase. We don't need to hear the worst things that Norman Finkelstein has said when it comes to this. Now, Norman Finkelstein is a hero of mine, so I'm not in any way saying that Norman Finkelstein said something indefensible and terrible. I don't think Ethan is completely aware of Norman Finkelstein's more extreme ways of talking about these things. So it may not really... Hasan thinks he's doing something here. I don't think it's gonna go in the way that he thinks. And I don't think he's really taking into consideration that we want Norman Finkelstein to be a protect over here. He's our boy. We don't look at him as some kind of fucking crazy person, and we also don't look at him as the arbiter of truth when it comes to dealing with someone like Ethan, who is a bit more of a centrist on this whole thing. So the Queen of Swords for Ethan, I kind of think has to do with, if Ethan could just maintain the composure that he does currently have, I think he'll be fine with this whole topic about the Houthis. I think Hasan is starting to get rattled. I think he's a little concerned about some of the shit that he said and that he's not really willing to address in any genuine way. And now when I point to this, remember, if you've been watching part 1 through 4, the 4 of Swords here is not... It's not going to always mean... I do think that it comes up a lot, or at least this particular episode, because it does actually relate to the debate strategy of these folks. But remember, the 4 of Swords is also just Hasan's past and his inability to separate his edginess from his genuine political movement or political beliefs. He doesn't really get that what he looks like to the rest of the world, or at least the people watching these things, is that he's a bit of an extremist and possibly an anti-Semite. And that is always going to kind of be in the background. And he's not quite aware of that. And we got reverse 3 of Pentacles and reverse 9 of Pentacles for Ethan, because I would say that even though Ethan is sort of going in a better route than Hasan for this topic, I personally find this all to be bleh. I don't really think this is actually going to... Oh, yeah, and there was something about, Ethan was challenged to call the IDF terrorists, and then he finally conceded on that, and Hasan just kind of ignored that. Once again, not a very good look for Hasan. Ethan's now saying that the IDF is a terrorist organization. He wanted to have a sort of nuanced conversation about, well, it's an army, and technically, by definition, terrorism doesn't include militaries, because a military can commit horrible atrocities, but by definition, a terrorist Ethan started going down that route, but then he realized, nah, fuck it. IDF is a terrorist organization. I don't give a fuck. And the thing is, that's good for Ethan, because Hasan doesn't really acknowledge it. He kind of just moves on. He's really, I would say he's kind of losing it here. I don't know for sure. Hasan doesn't really seem to have any respect for the debate format right now. Ethan, every time he tries to put Ethan up against the ropes as being some kind of genocide apologist, Ethan just kind of says, oh no, I do think that's bad. I think the IDF is terrorists. I think Israel is occupying Palestine. I think Israel is committing a genocide. Hasan is losing ammo to use against Ethan, really.
Why are you thinking about what my bedroom looks like? It's kind of weird, man.
Yeah. No, you're right. You fucking badass fucking sports car bed. It's a
very odd.
As long as the people in Gaza are subjected to a genocide, we won't stop. Do you know all the praise that's given to the Danish government because it helped evacuate Jews during World War II? But is there a case where a totally distant people did that for the people of Gaza? If I were to give a Nobel Peace Prize, I would divide it between 3. South African delegation. Number 2, those doctors who volunteered to go to Gaza, the Doctors Without Borders and others. One doctor, he was Palestinian. Why don't you leave? Because he had an option. He was able to go. He said, I didn't go to medical school for 30 years to abandon my people. He was killed. And the third, it's the Houthis. If genocide is the crime of crimes, the Houthis are the hero of heroes.
Yeah, I mean, the first 2 examples, I definitely agree. I think it's psychotic to give the Houthis a peace prize. That's nuts.
Why?
Because what the fuck have they done for peace other than kidnap innocent civilians? What have they done for their own populace? As you said, the poorest country on earth.
That is a direct material. The Houthis have.
What does this have to do with the river of the sea?
Material consequences for Israel as it has implemented a genocide.
All right, let's give them a peace prize. Whatever, I don't care. Let's give them a peace prize.
I think they deserve it.
Yes, absolutely, without a doubt.
Yeah. Wait, also,
don't ask the unaffiliated prisoners who are held for a year, though, if they do.
No, I don't. I think you're missing the broader point here. You're missing the forest for the trees.
Right.
Here, I'll give you a great example of this, by the way, because you spent a lot of time being like, the Houthis are bad. They're homophobic. I'm sure they are. Holy shit. Also, Dan, it keeps switching back to me on my end. Sorry.
Let's talk about the issue of the Nakba and stuff.
Okay, hold on. I know you keep saying, oh, it doesn't matter. This is boring. Whenever you come across
it's irrelevant,
you have to admit
and you just talk and talk. It makes the video unwatchable.
The Houthis, you said the Houthis are barbaric. They're homophobic. They hate women. All this shit, right? And I'm sure a lot of that is correct. Of course it is. It is the fucking poorest nation on the planet, and all that is known is fucking death and destruction. This doesn't justify having that sort of opinion, of course, but it certainly understands, don't you think? Certainly is part of the point, part of the problem. And the best possible way to probably get them to have a civil rights movement to give gays rights would probably be to stop fucking bombing them, as Joe Biden did and as Donald Trump has done.
Yeah, that wasn't my chief criticism. I mean, again, my criticism is that they're kidnapping civilians.
Yeah, I know. You don't like their methods, but you have no alternative method.
I said just do it without kidnapping civilians, dude. It's not rocket science.
Let's get back to the IDF. You said the IDF is maybe not a terror organization, but the IDF is a terror organization.
I didn't say that. Wrong.
Through and through.
Wrong. Again, a liar.
Okay, so you think the IDF is a terror organization?
I said yes.
I
think it's fair to characterize them that way.
Okay. Your wife was in the IDF.
Yeah.
Do you believe your wife is a terrorist?
Of course not.
You have considered a 19-year-old Yemeni TikToker who is not even a part of the Al-Houthi family with no Houthi affiliation, but simply a person that says he stands with the Houthis, and I do too, a terrorist over and over again because he has a gun in the second highest gun ownership density per capita, and because he responded to a fucking Instagram comment saying he's a soldier, a dude who doesn't even speak English.
Let's watch this.
You kept claiming that he was a terrorist over and over again.
He is.
His name is Rashid Al-Haddad. He is not even a fucking Zaidi Shia. He's not even a part of the Houthi family.
Let's watch the evidence.
His last name would be Al-Houthi, not Al-Haddad. Okay.
Let's watch the evidence.
This person, you looked at a 19-year-old fucking teenager who's a TikToker,
terrorist,
in the poorest country on the planet, who's only known death and destruction, and spent countless fucking hours looking through whatever his social media was to be like, this guy is bad.
Let's look at it.
Yeah, of course he's fucked up. He lives in goddamn Yemen.
Do you know what the bigotry of low expectations is?
Like you, dumbass.
Do you know what the bigotry of low expectations is? You're saying because he's poor, he hates Jewish people? Let's watch. Ready?
No,
let me show you.
It's not because he's poor that he hates Jewish people. It's because he lives in fucking Yemen. And in that part of the world, the only thing that people see is the dangerous conflation of Zionism and Judaism.
I'm
because
sure
the fighter jets that blow up their fucking schools have a Star of David next to them. And when the Palestinians are kidnapped, when they're fucking forced to go through military trial detention, they get fucking Stars of David carved on their heads. Israel is the one that dangerously and falsely claims to be the nation state of Jews. Israel is the one that makes everybody think that this action, all of the action, the genocide that you called a genocide, is actually being done at the behest of Jews.
That's not true.
Of course, for everyone
Israel
in that side of the fucking world, when they say Jew, it's interchangeable with Israel. Many of these people, including...
Do you think he's like Anne Frank?
What?
Do you think he's like Anne Frank?
Oh, of course, absolutely. He has withstood genocide. He has withstood genocide by the Saudi government. Of course I do. I think that talking to... But my point that I was fucking presenting... My point that I was fucking presenting...
Anne Frank is famous for being a pacifist and seeing the good in people despite a fucking Holocaust that took every member of her family but her dad. That's why she's inspiring. This guy went on Twitter and said, fuck Jewish people.
Would you think Anne Frank would be less inspiring if she somehow was able to get out?
If she was like, I want to kill Germans and hang them? Yeah.
And took up arms against the Nazis? Would you say that Anne Frank is bad for that? Say Anne Frank is bad for that, Ethan.
For something that didn't happen?
Anne Frank would be bad if she took up arms against the violent Nazi occupation. Say it.
It wouldn't be the same, for sure.
It wouldn't be the same.
She's famous for being a pacifist and seeing the good in people despite living through a Holocaust. You understand that? That's not what... Let me show you. Let me show you.
Do you think that if Anne Frank took up arms against the Nazi occupation,
Israel isn't occupying Yemen anyway?
What?
Israel's not occupying Yemen.
Israel isn't. But for every single country in this region, American imperialism is all they have known.
You said this. Why don't they say death to Saudi Arabia on their flag? Why is it Jews? Why is it damn the Jews?
They're directly fighting Saudi Arabia.
You see the Star of David. Of course they hate Jews. What about why does their flag say death to fucking Israel and damn the Jews?
Their flag says, death to America, death to Israel, a curse upon the Jews.
Damn the
which
Jews,
I have
curse
said
upon
time
the
and time
Jews.
again is kind of gauche, not acceptable, not
That's
appropriate
nice.
by Western standards. But if you listen
Why
to
does it say
Norm
Saudi
has a
Arabia?
clip on that too. Norm has a clip on that too. Do you want to see?
No,
Do you wanna see
let me show you this because you've been
You
going
want
on
to
and
hear
on.
Norm Finkelstein explain that?
No, I want to show you this. Okay, you've been talking.
All right, so he's going to show him something, probably his penis. I don't know. So that's interesting that he is going to show him something, because I would say, first of all, let's start off with these. You know, Hasan brought up Ela, and I feel like Ethan didn't really. I mean, I feel like Hasan could have taken the opportunity to really drive home the whole Ela thing. Like, okay, so you admit that IDF is a terrorist organization, so are you saying that Ela is a terrorist? And he's like, no, but the kid who's on TikTok is. And then he doesn't really go further into. I mean, I don't think there's a really good argument there on Ethan's side, and yet Hasan, I don't know. I feel like he really he brought up some. He brought in some decent points on that, but I feel like he's getting more caught up in defending the kid, who is a TikToker and also a Houthi terrorist or whatever that he brought onto his show. He's more concerned with defending that kid than he is in going after Ethan's wife, which maybe is a good strategy in the long run. That's a tough one, right? I do think Hasan had a really good point that he's not going further on, and it might be out of respect for Ethan in some way, like maybe a subconscious way, or maybe Hasan just doesn't really get that he had a good point. I don't know. Hasan, we got to remember, we're talking about two dumb guys arguing with each other. One is a little bit more ignorant of the situation, but they're both pretty dumb. I think Ethan, in some ways, because he built his career on being like a sort of like a content cop kind of a guy, he probably takes a few more seconds to think about what he's going to say. Hasan, on the other hand, doesn't. Hasan is a little too rapid with his arguing. So Ethan having the Three of Wands and the Knight of Swords, I was interested in that, because where is Ethan going with this? I feel like it was interesting because the Ela thing was brought up and that quickly got glossed over. I feel like Hasan could have maybe put Ethan up against the ropes with that, but he didn't. So then I was like, okay, so where is this going? And now Ethan is starting to gear up for some kind of strategy here. He's going to possibly get Hasan on something. I don't know. I think Hasan flubbed an opportunity to kind of really get Ethan to defend his wife. Now, whether that's a good look for Hasan or not, I don't know. I think there's enough criticism of Ela and her time in the IDF in the internet sphere from what I've seen. So, I'm not. I don't think it's below him or anything to bring Ela into this. But since Ela is a member of this podcast and is not there to defend herself currently, perhaps that's not the best. I don't know. I don't know why Hasan didn't stick to that one. That was a good point that he had, and Ethan he dismissed it, and Hasan didn't challenge him further on it. He's more so focused on defending the Houthi kid, which, maybe that is a good idea. I don't know. I feel like in a certain context that might have been a better strategy, but it may not have worked out too well for Hasan. So now Ethan is going to pull out something, like I said, probably his penis.
Very good. Let's watch this.
You condemn the Warsaw Ghetto
Hasan,
Uprising, Ethan?
You got to stop.
Do you condemn the Warsaw Ghetto
I'm
Uprising?
going to play this video, okay? He says, ready for sacrifice. Oh, maybe I read it.
Oh, yeah, and that whole Anne Frank thing, it just sounds ridiculous, right? Because Anne Frank isn't someone who was anti-German or called for the deaths of all Germans. Now, me personally, I would not say, oh, Anne Frank is such a terrible person because she called for the deaths of all Germans. That's not how that works, right? She's a victim of one of the biggest atrocities. I mean, her family was hiding in a fucking hole. It would make sense if she was anti-German, but she wasn't. So that was a big deal. Who cares? And I don't think Hasan really understood how shitty of an argument that was.
I said eager for martyrdom. Maybe he's talking about football? Here he is singing a song with the words, "Do you threaten us with what we are waiting for, son of a Jew?" Meaning of Houthi is a title, and it's not something to fear, but for the Jews. They are very afraid of this title. The execution we will carry out on all Zionists, with the lovely depiction of a man impaled through his asshole and out of his mouth with a pike, or how Hasan likes to say it, a pike for a cock. Okay, why would he retweet this article called Houthis use social media to boost global prominence and support? Israel falls, wait for the new operation in Tel Aviv, the Jaffa drone, which no Israeli defense can stop. The ships we bombed and sank. I know the red arrow is supposed to be a cool military Hamas thing. This is a butt plug. Just saying. To every Zionist, I will put this into your stomach. And let me state the obvious. Jew and Zionist is clearly interchangeable to this guy. Okay, but hating Jews doesn't make you a Houthi. Are you a soldier? Yes. That seems pretty definitive. Why did he say yes to "Are you a soldier"?
Bro, he doesn't even fucking speak English. You're like, oh, he's a soldier. Wait, even if he is, I'm gonna ask you a question very clearly and very deliberately. If Anne Frank
just like Anne
posted,
Frank, by the way.
if Anne Frank, if we had the internet during the time of the Holocaust, and Anne Frank posted about this is what we're gonna do to the Nazis, would your analysis of Anne Frank change even a little bit, even an iota?
Yes, of course it would, because she's famous for being a pacifist, not tweeting out death to all Zionists. She's famous for seeing the good in people, not fucking tweeting out that we want to nuke Israel. What do you mean?
That one, because I would not give a fuck. I would be loud and proud, going, "Hey, that's what she said. That's what we're gonna do to the Nazis. Fuck yeah, girl."
So after watching that compilation, you still agree that he's just like Anne Frank?
Did you not hear what I asked you?
I'm just summarizing.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Anne Frank died before she could resist. But if she did, I would never hold that against her.
She was fucking killed in a concentration camp, you psychopath.
But if she
was exterminated with her whole fucking family. Her dad's the only one that survived and recovered her journal. Are you fucking mad?
Either, Ethan, right? Would you hold that against her? Would you hold that against her?
I wouldn't hold it against her, but she wouldn't be the same historical figure that said, despite my family being killed in a concentration camp and everyone being murdered, I'm still a pacifist that sees the good in people. What the fuck? What's so confusing about that? Not kill Zionists, not nuke Israel, not a pike through Zionist assholes.
I can't believe we're once again discussing the posts of a dude in Yemen
who really like to do
19
that.
fucking years old.
Well, you said he's not a Houthi. I mean, you went on and on and on and on about how he's just some random fucking innocent kid that you platformed and blazed the fuck up, by the way. Which is, by the way, just terrible journalism. Like, you have KFC in Yemen? Is that the fucking best question you have for someone who's apparently surviving a genocide in Yemen, who's been with the crew of kidnapped hostages, who has apparently partied with the captives? You say, is there KFC in Yemen? Are you fucking kidding me?
Just here's some clips
hold on, besides being like wrong, it's insanely incompetent.
We're going clip for clip. Can you please play this? It's from my subreddit.
Sure. Give me a sec. Dan's got to pass it to me. Okay, after this, please, we got to move on to the Nakba thing.
Yeah. Every single victim of Israeli or American violence has to be a pacifist.
Okay, do you want me to watch this? I mean, what the fuck, bro? It's 4 minutes, so I'm not going to watch the whole thing, but I'll watch like a minute or 2 minutes, okay?
طبعا جاتني اسئله كثيره ماذا اذا اليهود يقرروا ان يعودوا الى اليمن؟ هل بنسمح لهم ولا لا ولا؟ طبعا طبيعي يعني احنا اليمنيين بنتجهنا للسلام يعني اليمن مسموح لاي شخص يعيش فيها.
This is like shot like by a fucking propagandist. What are you talking about? Like, he's all fucking dolled up. He's got makeup on. The lighting is perfect. Yeah, he's like, guys, please, we love the Jews. Give me a break. Our problem is not with the Jews,
like a
guys.
Big man, buddy, dunking on a fucking 19-year-old living in Yemen. You pick and choose what you think. You pick and choose what you think is appropriate.
Well, what do you think about all the shit I showed you? Which do you think he believes, this or that?
I think he believes both. This is not.
He both believes the Jews are our friends and also we need to murder them all.
The problem is,
he believes that Jews are our friends and we need to murder them all. Is that correct?
The problem is you conflate.
No, he said Jews. He in the tweet said this is what we're going to do to Jews.
From a Western perspective, for them, when they talk about Israel, they sometimes reflect
it as
the
Jews' fault, right?
But listen to me.
You're blaming the victim.
Because in that interview that I conducted with him, I asked him about how he felt about Jews, anti-Zionist Jews specifically.
I remember.
And he said he loves them.
That is such a lie. You're such a liar.
You don't know this person.
I watched it. That's not what he said, though. He said if they support Palestine, then I like them. You're lying. You're just lying. You're lying about what he said. You're lying. I've seen that interview. You're lying. He didn't say that. He said if they support Palestine, then that's good. What? That's what he said. It's a fucking materially way different than I love Jews. What the fuck you said?
No, you didn't hear you just repeated what I said.
What'd you say?
I said love, but I think he didn't. I guess he didn't say love.
What did he say? Hold on.
He said like.
What did you say he said?
I said that I don't care what anyone's background is. I love them. Jew, Christian, Muslim, doesn't matter. If you are against Israel, I love them. That's what I said. He has no problem with Jews who are pro-Palestine.
That's nowhere close to what you said.
Dude.
Well, you realize you're wrong. You got caught in a lie, so you're revising. It's fine. All right, let's move on to the Nakba thing.
Dude, I don't care.
We got to move on, bro.
Ethan, listen to my words very carefully. If he had told me, okay, I hate all Jews unconditionally, I am an anti-Semitic person.
He did tweet stuff like that.
The conversation would go very differently. But even then, I probably wouldn't be as vicious as you
literally said that on social media,
or you want me to be. Because I understand the material conditions and what plays a role in people's recognition of the world.
Nobody needs to fear Jews, he said. I'm going to shove my gun and kill Jews.
What? No, he didn't say that.
I'll play it again. You want me to play it again?
Oh, God. Okay, dude. You just play the fucking clip then. God damn it. Just play the clip. He said Zionist, but play the fucking clip, Ethan.
Yeah. I'll play it.
Play the clip I sent you without fucking complaining.
No,
it's too dolled up.
Wait, you want me to watch your clip? I thought, no, we're going to watch my clip.
No, play the fucking clip I sent
you. By
you.
the way, I don't know if this music's claimed, by the way. We can. It does matter, unfortunately. You're on Twitch where stealing content is fucking regular, but on YouTube there's standards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. God forbid someone might copy strike you, and then their lawyers might demand erroneous
which you admitted is
erroneous
sometimes
things out of
warranted. Where's the link?
Mr. Fair Use, Mr. Fair Use.
Yeah, yeah. Do you know what fair use is? You fucking moron. It's using it fairly. There's a big difference between.
No, I know. Fair use is when you get mad at Redditors criticizing you, so you fucking you get
course
your
I care about my
high-powered attorney to
monetization
fucking
status.
sue them and make demands about how they
What's
have
that do
to
with fair use?
release
Yeah.
information about their
All right, let me
allegiances
play
to
this for a
Reddit.
minute, and then we'll move on.
All right, play.
فوقدوا صنع، ما في عندنا أي مشكلة، وهذه رسالتي لليهود أتمنى أن توصل. وطبعا وأشكر
This is the most pathetic terrorist propaganda bullshit I have ever seen, and the fact that you actually think this is credible is so hilarious to me.
Dude,
Wow. Let's keep it going.
man,
No, I love
look.
this. This is great. Let him.
All right, just keep playing it. Keep playing it.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying. I don't know where the audio went. Oh, why was it? Sorry, hold on. We're having.
I pulled it back up. Taylor Lorenz tweeted, "What's so crazy is that we tried to nab an interview with Rashad, the Yemeni teen who went viral for WAPO, before Hasan the Hun got the scoop. Ethan continues to chastise Hasan for legitimate journalism and an interview that half the MSM was chasing."
Well, first of all, Taylor Lorenz is a fucking hack loser who's obsessed with you, okay? Of course she would say that. She, by the way, what was the legitimate... Name one question you asked him that represents legitimate journalism.
Okay.
One question.
Great question. What do you feel about anti-Zionist Jews leading many of the anti-Israel protests in the United States of America?
That's your most important journalistic question, which he basically said...
No, you asked me one. I gave you one.
I don't think that... I mean, I find that to be insignificant, especially considering his answer. No follow-up questions? Why don't you ask him why don't you ask a follow-up question like,
Ethan.
do you not care if they're Zionist Jews? That they're Israeli Jews that support you?
I don't give a fuck if he cares if there's Zionist Jews or not.
What about...
The
do you
Israeli
think...
Jews,
Hey, what was the
about?
hard-hitting part about asking if he likes One Piece? Was that hard-hitting journalism?
No, it was called humanizing.
That was called cringe as fuck, glazing, pathetic.
Yeah, because you don't like when a fucking brown person gets a little bit of airspace
Is that
and
right?
they look like a human being.
So you're resorting to
and
calling me
not a fucking
racist now.
barbaric
By the way, this
monster.
dude's white as
Because
fuck. What are you talking
you're
about?
Islamophobic, Ethan.
This dude's whiter than I am. What the fuck are you talking
All right,
about,
let's get back
dipshit?
to the IDF.
Hold on, you
So
accuse me of
said
being
the IDF to
racist.
be
Are you talking about
declared
this
a
guy?
terrorist organization,
Are you talking about
and
this
your
guy?
wife is a part of the IDF. Do you think it's appropriate to call your wife a terrorist?
I think you do. No, I don't.
You don't think it's appropriate?
No.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'm glad that was brought up at the very end because I was curious, like, okay, how is this going to end? Because these cards, what I was getting from the card is that the Ela thing was going to come back up at some point. That there was no way it wasn't going to come back up. That's what I was like, okay, let's just see. Where is this going to come up before the end of this segment? Because this is kind of where this part is going to end right here. I'm not, I'll save this for part 6 and maybe part 7 and who the fuck knows. I knew that Ela thing was going to come back up and now I want to see more, right? But for now, what I'll say is that what we had at first with the Emperor and the reverse Two of Cups and then the King of Pentacles, I would say like King of Pentacles versus Emperor would be probably the most appropriate way to look at this. And then we got reverse Queen of Wands for Hasan and a reverse Ten of Cups. The way I look at it is that these guys are sticking to their guns on this topic. They definitely decided to triple down, quadruple down on their points about this Houthi boy. And I think at the very end, Hasan came out on top. Probably not perfectly. You know, this is probably a debate that can go on for a while because, I mean, the Houthi boy did say there's a difference between Jews and Zionists and that his problem is not with all Jews. I mean, that kind of flies in the face of what Ethan was trying to claim. Sure, maybe it's just lip service. Maybe it's just strategic, oh no, we're not anti-Jewish. But I think the way a lot of this rhetoric has gone throughout this whole fiasco, you got to remember that we're translating words from one language to another. And we also have to remember that Israel considers itself a Jewish state, and they do have the Jewish symbol all over their weapons, their planes, their tanks. I mean, it is everywhere. Zionists believe that Israel represents Jews. A lot of the rhetoric for the anti-Zionists within the realm, within the region that is fighting over this whole thing, you're probably going to hear some anti-Semitic stuff. And it is true. Like, I mean, we shouldn't tolerate anti-Semitic rhetoric ever. Even if it's coming from people who are being oppressed, to some degree, we as individuals who are not part of that world should be able to say, well, no, it's wrong to say anti-Semitic things, and it's wrong to endorse anti-Semitic actions. It's not that hard to say that and then move on and talk about the context. The problem with people who really get fixated on this type of conversation is that they really truly believe that the anti-Semitism is the only thing that matters in the end of the day, when that's not the case. And the Houthi kid saying, Oh, no, this is not about the Jewish people. I want to clarify. This is about Zionism. That kind of, at the very least, throws a wrench into Ethan's strategy here. It's a good look for Hasan. It's a bad look for Ethan. And then Hasan ended with that Elah thing. And you could see from Ethan's face. Ah, man. I'm kind of stuck with that one, huh? And he's hoping that, it's not going to linger too much. They're moving on to the next topic, which is Hasan's thoughts on mandatory service. So that is going to directly have to do with Elah. For this, I'll just save it for the next part. And I think, I'll just have to have, probably part 6 will be the rest of this. It might be a long episode. See you next time on part 6.